Of course, the new ContraPoints video is fabulous, but let me make three short critiques. I think critiquing envy is problematic in a world where there are people who are exploited by other people. People who are envious of people who have more power than them, people who can go off to islands and party while they're in quarantine. A world in which certain classes and certain people have privileges that others don't. I think envy is very natural. And until we have a world in which there is a basic equality and non-exploitation and non-oppression, we can't really critique envy meaningfully. We don't want to say things like that blacks are just envious of whites, that women are just envious of male power, or that workers are just envious of capitalists. They're not just envious, they have very good reasons why they're envious. So that's one thing. A second thing which bothered me in the video was the identification with Marie Antoinette. And I think it's quite telling. We all like fabulous, powerful women. We identify with them. Even the video hints about us identifying with the figure of the mother, us desiring the figure of the MILF. So obviously we all have a kind of sexual libidinous identification with powerful women. But I think politically it's problematic, this desire and this identification. Why identify with Marie Antoinette when you can identify with the whole population of feudal France that suffered for hundreds of years under an oppressive regime, an exploitative and oppressive regime? So the very identification with Marie Antoinette, one person who may have suffered undeservedly, is problematic. I also think that there is a missing identification with the women who instigated essentially the French Revolution, the brave women who did this miraculous thing and transformed us, the whole world, from having feudalism as a model to having some sort of liberal democracy as a model. So there are alternative identifications that we can partake in. The third thing is something that repeats several times in ContraPoints, reform versus revolution, in which reform is presented as kind of rational and revolution is presented as smash, kittens, something irrational and violent. Reform is wonderful, but we have to remember that reform, while keeping the same elites, can easily be rolled back. We saw this at the end of World War II, when there were several measures of reform. A big middle class was built by governmental policy in the US and elsewhere. And of course, in the 70s and 80s, all of this was rolled back, and the middle class and working class could do nothing about it because the same people stayed in power. You can't control reform and rollback of reform if you let a powerful class of capitalists be in charge of things. They would be very easily roll back everything you do.